War and Peace. Wow. With no Stoneforge. So just hoping to draw his singletons.
And no Squadron Hawks put him on either. But you do the Moorland Haunt, which is kind of the new way to do it. So that's Patrick McGregor on your right playing the blue-white deck. On your left, Chris Danais, who's playing...
what is this?
It's playing Solar Flare.
Okay, I saw all the singletons. Yeah, definitely Solar Flare.
Playing Solar Flare, but he's instead of opting for the Sun Titan illusionary illusion package that most people are opting for, he's got a Shola Dread, a Consecrated Sphinx, a Runescarred Demon, a Wurmcoil Engine, Elesh Norn, Grand Cenobite, and Grave Titan. So he can kind of mix it up if he wants to.
And Solar Flare, for those who don't know, is a blue, black, white kind of control-y reanimator deck. The original version of it was what, kind of Ravnica era standard?
Yeah, it won in the hands of Paul Cheon in Kamigawa to Ravnica. Won nationals that year, and it was a control deck, or a mid-range tempo deck, really, mid-range tempo control, that used remand, but also just zombified things back randomly.
And it looks like Chris cast a Forbidden Alchemy, because there are some... He tapped out for 3 mana.
And yeah, it must have been Forbidden Alchemy.
And there are some extra cards in his graveyard now. Okay. And I can't really tell what those cards are in his graveyard. The top one's a land. There's a...
It's a white card second.
Oh, there's Liliana. Here we go.
Oh, man. All right, you got to counter that one if you can, Pat McGregor.
Sure do. He goes for a mana leak. Chris does have a mana leak back.
But
negate.
But Patrick has full counterspells. We saw Pat play earlier, and his deck is just so many counterspells. He has access to, after sideboarding, he has access to 4 mana leak and 4 negate and a dissipate.
And 1 dissipate.
Yeah. 3 marrow shards. That's an interesting card in the sideboard. Have not seen that one before. Marrow shards. Wow, that's really cool.
And you can see in Pat's hand, he's got his Singleton Jace. No, it's not Valerian. No, it's not the Mind Sculptor. He's got Jace Memory Adept.
And we saw Patrick put that to good use in the first round. It's pretty powerful.
Chris is drawing some more cards.
It's like he flashback and think twice. Very innocuous little card drawing spell there, but pretty good.
I like it. Think Twice is the kind of card that it's not going to win you any games by itself, obviously, but it just smooths out decks a lot. And it's really good with Forbidden Alchemy. You know, you can discard it.
There's a Think Twice from Pat McGregor.
Well, that was thinking once.
Fair enough.
He may think the second time.
I always recommend thinking the second time.
It's important when you play cards like this that you get your, you know what to say to your opponent.
This makes it, as a judge, it makes it more clear, right? Are you thinking once or thinking twice? If I remand that spell, what will happen?
It's not about the clarity. I think if you throw in a joke like that, get your opponent to laugh, maybe put them off their game a little. I have to have these small edges because I'm not that good at Magic, so
it looks like Pat McGregor was kind of staring at a Geist of Saint Traff there, but chose not to play it. And Chris flashes back into Forbidden Alchemy.
It costs 7 to flash back, which I've heard some people say is 1 too many, but I think they did not want it to be that dominating. So they played it safe and made it cost 7 to flash back.
I agree. I mean, I think it's still, people are going to play it for the 3, and then when you flash it back for 7, that's just, gravy. It's just bonus.
So Chris has cast his Forbidden Alchemy a couple times. He's got to be set up for what he wants to do. Just needs to fight through Pat's counter magic.
There's a Liliana from Chris.
Goes for a second Liliana.
Negate for Pat McGregor. See if Chris fights back. Think Twice. The new art. Or is that
Snapcaster?
Sorry, excuse me. They look kind of similar. Pat Man leaks that.
Leaks Snapcaster, which was probably going to flash back like a negate.
That clears the stack.
Liliana gets countered for the second time in a counter war. And we're seeing some traditional counter wars here in this format now. I'm excited. It's been a while.
Yeah, we've just seen a lot of like weird spell piercing manly kind of stuff for a long time, but finally we're seeing something a little different.
I did not like Spell Pierce. It was too cheap.
And there's Jace Memory Adept. All right, Chris.
Dissipate? Yeah.
That guy's gone for good. Not that he'd be returning it, but Pat plays a
Wow,
land.
what if they made a Planeswalker like reanimator? Return target Planeswalker to the battlefield.
Kind of cool. Turn target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I guess I call that one Sun Titan, right?
So Chris is either out of gas or trying to set up a situation here.
A lot of lands for Chris.
He's moving his graveyard over, so...
And Pat finally feels it safe to lay down that Geist of Saint Trash. And if Chris doesn't have any action, that guy could just, serve in chunks of 6 and deal some damage.
6. Did you say earlier that Chris had the Moorland Haunt, though? No. Does not have a Moorland Haunt. Oh, Pat's got Moorland Haunts in his deck.
Chris has Nephilia Drownyard, which is pretty interesting in this deck. Gets you some flashback cards. Gets you some reanimation targets.
Day of Judgment there wipes out the Geist. Before it can summon its angel friend.
And Pat thinks twice from his graveyard. Blade Splicer for Pat McGregor. Now, Blade Splicer is certainly a big card to watch. That card is excellent at beating up on Liliana, which is kind of a key selling point.
Right, because Liliana's Edict ability is just going to eat the Splicer itself, leaving the 3/3 Golem around.
Right, and even if you eat the Splicer, the Golem will then be able to attack the next turn. That'll be that. Another day from Chris. He's been holding those days.
What a day.
Days for days.
Both trying to get in her. All right.
Best part about Days for Days is you can also run it with the card Days.
You can do that tomorrow, Gavin.
Not today. Better not be able to do that today. So Pat uses the Moorland Haunt to make a token and crash, smash, deal 1.
Don't we have any of the new spirit tokens lying around? Someone go over to one of the drafts and borrow a spirit token.
It's a morph card, right? That's what that is? 2/2?
No. Morph cards and transform in the same set? That would be a judge's nightmare.
A card with morph and transform?
I don't even know what you just said.
Alright, so Chris...
So now it was his first blood, right? The 1/1 spirit got in there.
Looks like Chris drew Consecrated Sphinx, which might blow this opening, but I think Pat still has another Mana Link in his hand.
Pat's had his Sphinx in hand for a while, too.
Yeah. Alright, well, there's an
And this is... Solar Flare is the kind of deck that just grinds and grinds.
And the difference is it gets all of its advantage from its graveyard. Or not all, but it gets advantage from its graveyard. So, he can just keep running these things out. Patrick can 1-for-1 him, and then Chris will just eventually, alright, unbarrel rights.
Yeah.
Dissipate, though. That's a good one to use on Consecrated Sphinx.
Is that the original art?
That is the original one, yeah. I have the promo foil one of those. I don't know any of the originals, though. Alright. Snapcaster Mages in response. See if Pat lets that resolve.
It's got a leak.
Alright, any leaks?
Chris only has 2 open lands. So now the Snapcaster will get leaked. And then Dissipate will counter the Sphinx. Unless
gone.
Chris is thinking could have another mana leak, I suppose. Maybe a negate.
Alright, I think that all goes down. Oh, no, he lets that resolve, and then he has the Mana Link. And Chris pretty triumphantly shows that Mana Link. So that he lets the Snapcaster Mage get countered, and that all resolves, and Sphinx comes down. This means Chris can be drawing some cards, but Pat does have his own Sphinx plus a Day of Judgment in his hand.
2?
It might just be the gas Chris needed, though.
Right, because he's just going to trade 1-for-1 here with the Day. But he's drawn 2 extra cards off of it.
And now Pat could play his own Sphinx next turn, but it's going to depend on
what Chris does.
On what Chris does. 'Cause if
He has so much mana, he can just start like hard casting a Runescar Demon or something.
Think twice is where we're starting, I suppose, or think once.
Once. Eight mana left open after that.
I think is that 9? No, 8. You're right. I should trust. Right.
There's 9.
There's 9.
And passes.
Moreland Haunts. But no action for Chris there. I think it's Sphinx time for Pat McGregor. He wants to find a 8th land, which he just found, so we can play the Sphinx with the negate backup.
Gotta go for it here.
It's Sphinx time.
What is a 4/6 flyer that beats you up?
In response, he's going to Forbidden Alchemy.
Grave Titan, Swamp, some other cards.
That'd be Doomblade. And if this doesn't work out, I'm pretty sure he's going to flash back his Think Twice. Don't want to do that with a Concentrated Sphinx on the table. I think they just called time in the round, but it looks like the players have a slight extension thanks to moving under the feature match cameras and such.
All right, so we'll have to keep an eye on the potential time extension here.
Looks like it'll end at about 25 after.
It's plenty of time for this to end. All right, so Consecrated Sphinx resolved.
All right, this time Pat draws cards off of it. Another day. Oh, Oblivion Ring. Negate for Pat McGregor.
Negate resolves.
Uh-oh. If Chris doesn't have an answer, that Sphinx is going to run away with the game. All right, ring number 2.
Another O-ring. Okay.
Chris's hand is so choked on cards that he's not casting. They have to just be removal spells at some point.
So now they've both gotten their +2 off of their respective Sphinxes.
Yep.
Back to parity, but Chris has had a few more flashback spells, I think.
Yeah, he still has the Forbidden Alchemy hanging out in there. Oh, Unbarrel writes on his own Sphinx. Not only does he deal with Pat's, but he plays his own copy. It's so weird to see a deck that just zombifies for value. You just don't see that very often. And I think that's the trademark of the Solar Flare deck. A lot of people have been wondering, why are people calling it Solar Flare? Why isn't it Esper? Why isn't it this? Why isn't that? And it's just because, A, because everyone's just going to call it Solar Flare anyway, and B, because of the trademark reanimation spell.
The deck first came out of Australia, right? Australian Nationals? Maybe from Magic Online?
I think that might have been... It might have showed up
back in the day.
In real life in 2006 in Australian Nationals, but on Magic Online is really where it generated. People kind of played it. People call it the worst kept secret in Magic. A title which was later taken by Elves in Berlin. But
my favorite variant was when Raphael Solari kind of tweaked the deck and people started calling it Solari Flare.
How did you tweak it?
I don't really recall at this point, but...
Alright, serves in for 4. We'll drop Pat McGregor down to 16. Finally some points damage.
Right. Pat McGregor did play a Blade Splicer, but kind of irrelevant against the Sphinx. I don't really think he can race at this point. Certainly can't race if he doesn't get rid of that Sphinx. Because Chris is just going to play something else here.
Let's see, looks like Chris is flashbacking using his other Unbarrel Res, or the one he just played. Double use on a reanimation spell. Powerful stuff. Grave Titan. Oh. Pat better find a Day of Judgment. I think, does Chris have the negate too?
Well.
Gets 2 unglued zombie tokens. Don't see too many of those running around.
I noticed that the zombie tokens in Innistrad, there are 3 different arts for them.
That's pretty smart. I didn't notice that. That's awesome.
Which, because they're just this horde of zombies. I like that they did that.
All right, so Chris cast something, Worm Coil Engine, but it got mana latency. And Chris was just going to go all out. Consecrated Sphinx, Grave Titan, and Worm Coil Engine.
Pat McGregor bricks with that Plains. He's got another Blade Splicer in hand, but that certainly cannot...
Get some blockers, maybe?
I mean, he could... If he cast it, he could block the Grave Titan and trade with it, but then there's 4 zombies and a Sphinx left.
I think Pat is holding it, so his hope is a draw Day of Judgment, basically.
Yeah, he really has to. Trading with the Grave Titan now just isn't going to win him the game. He can at least chump block the Grave Titan.
Heelish Norn comes back.
Oh.
Just one hit after another.
Oh my goodness.
4/4 zombie tokens from that Grave Titan.
And Pat's left with a lonely 1/1 Golem, which has to chump block here.
I mean, I think Chris might be overextending a little bit if this doesn't kill Pat, but... I mean, if he's done the math and it kills him. Alright.
4, 6...
I think it puts Pat to 2. Pat has to find Day here, right? That is not a Day of Judgment. That's a wrap.
Packs it in.
Chris takes it down.
There were about 2 minutes left in their time extension.
They're probably the last game playing, too. Wow, Solar Flare does its thing. That's insane. So it goes Consecrated Sphinx, Grave Titan, Wormcoil Engine, okay, counter that.